Yo, what's up? Recording a quick little intro here in the deep Canadian wilderness. We just had our 1-year anniversary stream. We've been doing this for a year now. We've been live. Thank you so much to all of the support, all of the viewers that came in. We had a little roundtable discussion with some of the homies that have been on previous episodes. This episode of the podcast is with Brady, Oz, Emery, and Mercy. So yeah, enjoy. See you guys later.
All right, well, we're live. Yes, we're live.
Hello.
We're welcome
Live
back
and
now.
living.
We're having a nice little interim moment doing podcast things, talking podcast shit. I'm joined again once with my lovely fambles here at the Rogues Passage. Emery, I do believe, has some things to take us out with. So, no, Mercy. Mercy gets that right this time around. Please, if you could.
Oh, okay. Well, we're just kicking it off with me right
Yeah.
away. Cool. So in lieu
MH3, right?
MH3, with the honor of Modern Horizons 3 coming out, Mercy came up with a fabulous theory with what was actually spoiled, not leaked, actually spoiled at the very beginning with the bringing back the flip planeswalkers, is that MH3 is actually a prequel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had thought that it was like an alternate universe thing where in Zendikar specifically, this is like what would have happened if they weren't defeated.
That's actually another really good theory. Like
I think that's canon.
I personally feel like
Yeah.
they're jumbling everything up because they can.
Because
I think there's a lot of like prerequisite stuff. Like they have like the flip planeswalkers for sure, but then we have the fused atrocity, and maybe not. I'm thinking maybe too much into the commander decks, but I can't help it included. There is a lot of casual Eldrazi, right? And
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with the
Ululek
precons
is
designed
literally-
around commander, it does still feel like they're kind of encompassing some kind of story with some of them. I think specifically one that's, because I don't know about the Lagoif one. I can't say anything for that story. Like, I don't know any of that lore.
I mean,
but for the
realistically-
Eldrazi, I know that's been around for a minute. So
Yeah.
It definitely has.
have.
I feel like the biggest underlining thing of why they're doing this is for the money, obviously. But like they don't care about the story at any point anymore.
The Eldrazi demand has been around since like the last time the Eldrazi's were actually the limelight of a set.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that they did say was that they weren't going to bring back Annihilator because it was too strong. And then lo and behold, they have Annihilator X?
they have
Hey,
later on.
hey,
What?
Watsy!
They used to say they were going to do
What's up?
Praetors again, and we have 10 new Praetors in the last
Yep.
couple of
Watsky
years. so-
lies and deceit. All I get is lies and deceit.
And you know, I had this conversation with my group last night about it's not WotC anymore.
Oh, no.
It's Hasbro. It's Hasbro.
Yeah.
There's no one really left to defend what was before, right?
I think they're both at fault. They're both at fault. You can't, it's kind of like blaming the parents. You can't necessarily say it's all the mother's fault. Like, well, the dad's kind of a shithead too.
No, it's both the parents, okay?
Yeah, like that's where I stand on that. Like at the end of the day, people in authority are making questionable choices that are making fans questionably, angry. So
Yeah.
personally, I feel like for someone who has outrageous ADHD, it kind of just fits with how I pay attention to shit anyways. So I was like, oh, cool. Eldraine. Oh, it's not new? Whatever,
Yeah.
It's still good times.
No, but like with the bringing back the flipping planeswalkers in MH3, like a Johnny was the huge kicker for me for that one.
What about
'Cause-
Sexy Sorin? Did you see that?
Oh my god, Sexy Sorin. But yeah, they brought back Boros Ajani, which is like, that was the big kicker for me. Was why I thought that they were doing more of a prequel thing. And then like all the Eldrazi's, it's like, okay, so this is what was happening before everyone got trapped in the moon, right? Or like got obliterated, because it was only Emrakul that got trapped in the moon, right?
Yes, the other ones were burnt to death.
Yeah.
How lame is that?
Well,
If it
apparently
wasn't-
they were fused together because
Well,
If it wasn't a
This-
prequel, that is a very good example as to what would happen if you tried to burn an Eldrazi. They fused.
Yeah, well, that's exactly Ululek and Ulamog and Kozilek becoming Ululek.
Yeah.
Is that canon? Is Chandra is the one who melted them together? Yep. Is that
Chandra's fire is the fire of destruction and rebirth.
we see Brad Dorff on the side being like, "You're a beautiful, beautiful butterfly." Before his head caves in.
It's unfortunate. I really do hope that, and this is all coming from hypocrisy, right? I'm going to be getting some of these Eldrazi's that they just came out with. Like, they're going to be super fun to play with. They're going to be interesting. The fact that there's going to be, like, devoid Eldrazi and, a Wooburg commander for that. Great. I love that. I'm super happy with that. But I kind of hope that they slow down a little bit on all of these crazy, like, we're just going to go for the most important, the Eldrazi, the Praetors. Guarantee you Nicol Bolas is coming back in the next couple of sets.
The power creep is seriously real on every new set that comes out, and I'm scared to death of another cold snap scenario where stuff is so powerful that it's no longer fun.
Yeah, like the power creep, it is real. Like, we were watching it go, and then all of a sudden it goes up.
Is there any sense in slowing down, though? Like, I'm sure you can probably find a nice level in which, okay, we should slow down now. But Thunder Junction, as an example, is insane. Like, it is incredible, the things that they have now, like, enabled for Magic going forward, period. Because there's a lot of, like, there's pre-DH now floating around where people are really pissed off by all this new shit. So they stop at 2020. And that's where it stops. It's like 93 to 2020, apparently. That's the holy years. It stops at Ikoria, I believe. And then everything beyond that is degenerate, which is also still really fun. And honestly, it's kind of cool to maybe even consider, as a deck builder, honestly having a bunch of decks that are, okay, here for sure, this is the first 10 years of its life, a lot of, like, old cards don't necessarily suit Commander, but you know what I mean, like, kind of where I'm getting at. Whereas then, everything you build forward, which is, I think, Strixhaven and up, is just that batshit degenerate. Yeah. And just live, Ben. Fucking
that is a point too, because there's been more stuff printed specifically for Commander in the last even 5 years than 10 before that.
MH3 precons are a prime example of that. We see Modern Horizons 1 and 2 come out. They're just like literal like reprint stuff and like maybe a couple really crazy new cards. And then MH3 is like, hey, Commanders. It's like, wait, what? Like, that one kind of came out of nowhere for me for MH3.
Why not Commanders?
I kind of feel like when you look at a lot of, like, the sets coming out, there's always a package in which you can see, this can be tiny leaders and this is that. And I think with the amount of formats, they might be trying to suck too much dick here, pandering to too much of an audience that, there's so much of a load they can take. It's Bukaki nightmare.
That is also very fair.
Like,
also arguably to like the
they're not omnipotent.
Old stuff to the new stuff. It's actually kind of very interesting because one of Jordan's new decks, and it actually came out in Wilds of Eldraine, is Agatha.
Oh, I love her. She's so good.
She comes out. She makes all these old cards that really don't do anything all of a sudden become godly.
I would love to know what Jordan thought of my deck, because right now I'm working on Monstrosity, because there's so much Monstrosity that's just garbage. Or even like things like Megamorph. Why not? I think it applies to Morph, right? It just Morph costs now are 1.
Yeah.
It cut tops because it doesn't reduce obviously to 0. But no, Agatha has so much capabilities. I love that. Honestly, I have her right now as in Alaplani as just an ability enabler.
Yeah.
Why not create an egg for 1 as opposed to 2? It does actually help a lot, especially early game.
Well, that's one of the biggest examples about it, though, is that a lot of new legendary commander capable creatures that are coming out, they're making things that wouldn't be good in very good in a deck from before that. They're all becoming really good now because of all these new cards. There's like a few cards that I have seen where it's just like, oh my god, this card from back in like Weatherlight is broken now because of this one card or whatever. It's unlocking all the potential from old and new.
Bringing back relevancy to cards that had no relevancy before, and now they're playable and great. Yeah. And I really do love to see that brought back in so that we can have all of this stuff. And I would say instead of curbing towards higher power level, I would say to make it weirder. Just let's get weird. Like,
that's what the Unseries
I don't want to go back.
Unseries is no longer really Unseries, is it?
I mean,
not with Infinity.
We have
pretty
cards
much,
like Words of Exchange, where it's not a silver bordered card, but it's goofy as hell.
Cards are playable. Play from the bottom of your library more often. Stuff that can be really weird.
Yeah, here's a random theory that just took to my mind here with mom and pops. So they know they can't control people, but they know that they can at least enforce how the games function, like the rules function on a very constructed level, right? So you can't really fuck with that. But once you've created the soccer ball, you can't really tell people how to really accurately play soccer anymore. You really can't. So who gives a shit? They're literally like, just release it. Let's make money. Just do.
They don't care too much about it.
Maybe they're trying to get to Mars. I don't fucking know.
I mean, they do a lot of bannings before things come out now, where they're just like, we're not really even thinking too far ahead about this.
Apparently they're not even willing to ban
Lutri
too
is
much
a prime example of that.
I don't think
before
they'd be
the set
banning too much
came
more.
out.
Well, even a card that just got banned in Pauper, even the day before it came out, was Cranial Ram. And that, the Pauper community saw
made
that
a mistake.
Yeah, it was definitely it shouldn't have, because it's cranial plating with extra steps essentially.
Is it PDH legal still, do you think, or
it is PDH legal?
that would make more sense. Singleton,
because you can only have one
Singleton
copy of
is
it.
in 99.
Yeah.
But the cranial ram got banned the day before. I bought one pack and I pulled a foil one. I was so sad. But the fact that gets banned before it just comes out, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They got it real quick.
Yeah, kill it on impact,
And
because it's just going to be a problem.
They don't think about the other sets other than Commander now.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even remember what card it was. It wasn't Lutri, because Lutri was already well known before Ikoria came out, and it was literally a day or two before it came out that Lutri got banned from Commander.
They should have just kept
completely.
that one properly secret.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
But there was
Why
one
can't
card.
you?
It got spoiled. When they started initially spoiling the set, this card got spoiled, and literally a day or two after it got spoiled in the first cycle, they were like, "Yeah, so we're banning this card because we realized it's way too good."
I mean, there's 27,000 unique Magic cards around this point, right? So
there, yeah.
I understand that they can forget and be like, oh yeah, we forgot that card exists and that this breaks that. So it would be nice if they had more dedication towards remembering these things, because they are the holders of the information, right? They can pay other people to do that. But the fact that other players, people that have been playing,
Getting
10, 15, 20 years, where they're they see that card come out and a card from, back in the day, back in 98 comes into their mind, where they're like, oh, that's gonna bust the shit out of this.
Yep.
I mean, that's definitely with the technology that we have as well. Get an AI that'll go through the catalog of all of the cards, because that's a hell of a bunch to keep on file, and then say, okay, you know what's gonna break this new card, and be like, oh, this an array of 5 cards to be like, oh, that might be a problem.
I feel like that's what they do too, is they just sit there and they look at all their old stuff and they're like, oh, what if we did a card that breaks this after 10 years? Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do it.
I always really loved this card. Let's break it.
100%.
At least it keeps things fresh.
It does. True. And that's one of the things that I really do like with WotC. What they're doing is they're bringing back useless things and making them useful again. That's what I'm really liking.
It is nice to see.
Yeah.
Well, some abilities that are pre-existing, example, I would like to see I think we've covered this in one of our podcasts, where abilities that are basically heroic without the titling heroic bothers me. Really want to see more of that, but that would take especially for a lot of pre-existing cards, because I think there's a lot of cards that saw Scry and Surveil for sure on a lot of them, but something like heroic, that would be so much work for them. I don't think they'd care.
Oh, they definitely brought back Surveil.
No, 100%, but they're turning it into an ability, as an example.
Oh, yeah.
Old cards that's basically
retconning them all.
Yeah, all the ones that had to be retconned, or just old pre-existing Surveil base abilities, right? So
see, that comes to a ruling question, is because they're technically retconning all of this by making it one official ability. Does that still work with all the old abilities? Is it still capable of working together?
Like Lifelink can see pseudo weird lifelink base mechanics, as long as you're getting life and seeing a base react, some kind of effect from it.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, If it gives you a reaction, then go for it. Like my Shadrix is an example. It sees ETB, it sees death, and it sees a bunch of things. But yeah, when it covers the stops, it's like, how do I really stop this?
Shadrix is omnipotent.
Such a good commander. It's so good.
Yeah, you guys were talking about that in a new series episode that you guys
Yes, we're doing our deck techs officially. I edited this one. I'll probably be editing a lot of them actually going forward, because it's good and easier. Hard work. Perseverance.
Pays off.
Honestly, I only had about a week, and I was like, "This is easy," and I hated myself for not getting to it sooner. Like, honestly, I was like, "What the fuck, Brady?" But either way, no, we're encouraged, and yeah, we have a lot more agency to get creative now that we have the confidence. So fuck yeah, and we're still really hoping to. I need to get off my ass and work on our merch. I have so much cool art to put onto some fabric. So
Okay. Well, since you already got into a couple of the topics, first and foremost, happy 1-year anniversary.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, the reason
happy
for
birthday,
today.
you guys. And that comes up to the next question: is what do you guys have planned for the future?
Well,
of the channel?
we are right now coordinating with the Commander Cookout crew. They are really, really, really cool. Tanner knows a lot more of this hubbub than I do because I'm just the face.
He's so good.
Beautiful.
Whoa, no,
Work
Brady.
it.
Whoa,
Work
no,
it.
Brady.
You're a tiger. Raw.
Calm down. We don't want to make all the Sims fame.
I've been smoking weed too, so don't quote me on too much here. But we are working with some really, really cool communities that have already a very, very invested place on YouTube and all sorts of social media platforms. So it's nerve-wracking and awesome and exciting, and it's going to open up a lot of doors for us to, spread all the bukkake that the rogues get to experience. So
We also do have a couple other offshoot channels that we're doing as well for our CEDH for competitive commander.
Yep,
We're doing that, and believe that is Rogues to Riches.
Rogues to Riches is our CDH channel with the CCO, and Pop Stars is our PDH, and or I think just anything popper related is our other sub channel again with CCO.
Yep.
I love that so much.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff with Into the 99 that's still pending, and honestly, again,
those
with
guys.
honestly, we should be expecting Dan here. He does have the invite. It depends on when he gets off work, but hopefully he'll show up here for a
Fingers
game.
crossed.
Yeah, no, kick some butt. I would love to see him, Jordan, you, and myself at that table.
That would be nice. I haven't played with
That
him
is
in
a
a while.
cocktail. Oh my god, that would be awesome.
He has
Oh, that
a
would
bunch
be-
of decks. Let's talk about Dan for a minute here. He has a bunch of decks that he just built recently, and I say a bunch, and you think like 3, 4.
No, like 20.
Six,
God,
no,
no.
it was 67 that he's
Holy.
currently in the mix.
That's a little bit more than a bunch.
Well, he has over 600 decks, right?
Okay, I
No, he
guess
has-
that's
no.
just a bunch.
No.
10%.
I asked him just recently because that was months ago, and he was like, "It's actually more than that."
Holy.
It doesn't surprise me.
He's got the means to do it.
And I thought me and Jordan
living
had a
the
lot of
dream.
decks.
I was living the dream.
He has a lot, but he was showing me all of the different
He
decks
owns
that he was
Black
building.
Lotuses.
And I think he had several where
Yeah,
it was like
he's got.
it was like this deck and then another version of the same commander deck, but slightly different. And
Okay.
that's absolutely insane to me. But I haven't played against any of those, and he was telling me about what some of them were actually going to be, and I was like, wow, like I need to play against this. I need to actually witness this in person.
Well, you were there the first game. We got to see his Eater of Days abuse of Eater of Days with his Kenrith deck, I think it was, where he basically removed himself completely and was in this lair zone of I don't have turns, but I'll pass and I still do things.
You
And
guys,
it's like
you guys can all pass your turns too, and we can get over this if you want it. It was 30 turns.
it was like what the fuck.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was weird.
Jeez.
No, he's invested
Yeah, when you
in the game.
when you build things just to break things, like what deck was it that I had like a while ago when you were living with us? It was
Oh, it was a couple
my mono black 97
Vargoth
land
deck?
Yeah, my Vargoth deck. It was
Vargoth
literally
with,
97 swamps with
Something in Madness or whatever.
ad nauseum, glacial chasm, and
You basically discard
some
your
other
hand and
card.
deal X damage to each opponent or whatever. Whatever
it
is.
was so it was basically
Card
just
prompt
like
here, we'll find it.
you discard your entire hand, so
Yeah.
basically you put like
Draw
almost
your
your
lands.
entire deck into your hand, which is all your lands, and then you just discard all of them to kill everybody.
Yeah, it's silly.
It
It's
was
like,
nutty.
potentially CDH.
It reminds me.
Not really, because
Well, no, there's no interaction.
it's guaranteed one trick pony
Only
turn
land.
5 win.
Only land, like you didn't say
Yeah.
any Soul Ring, you didn't say any Cheerios, none of that. But I've seen it actually do the thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I have a player that plays
Or
with
turn
us.
4.
Shout out to Steven. We shout out Steven a lot on this. He built
He
a
was
deck
just
that
on the
does-
channel. He was just on the channel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was, that's right.
Yeah, he's. I think we just released an episode with him today.
I love
Perfect.
Steven. He has a deck.
Quality.
It's got the first sliver, but he doesn't really do much with the first sliver other than play him and then end up sacrificing him later on, I think. But he does it to get one specific, I think it's an enchantment or something, where you can play stuff from your opponent's decks. You can just tutor something up and put it onto the battlefield once per turn. So, and it literally, it's full of gates, it's full of that, and like a Cultivator Colossus.
Yeah.
So you get all of the lands, and then you have something that's massive. Anyways, he came over and he played it one time, and I was like, okay, you understand you're only ever gonna get to play it once, because either you're gonna sit there and do nothing because somebody's gonna want to counter it because you're about to win the game.
Like tournament decks, Xander decks.
But what he ended up
Hawkswell
doing
decks.
is he took out the Cultivator Colossus so that he wouldn't be able to do like instant lethal damage, essentially. And now he just has it where he's just constantly casting one thing from each other player's.
Eternal Dominion?
It is Eternal Dominion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know this because I personally have a deck that tries to copy Eternal Dominion as many times as possible.
Oh, fun.
And I think
yeah.
the most that I've been able to do it is 10 copies of Eternal Dominion over 5 turns.
I've seen 8.
That's
I've seen
great.
8.
Yeah.
That's 2 from
I still killed you with
everyone.
Alapalani. That was great.
10 copies of it, so I'm getting 10 permanents every turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you stole my
great.
boring collection. It was
Yeah.
actually on our channel the first live stream day that we had, even though I had sloppy plays that game. Very sloppy plays. Always remember Shroud, folks. Always remember Shroud. If you decide to go source it.
Shroud is
yeah,
so
no, he definitely got more than one trigger from me, including stealing of Vorinclex and some other shit. But I had properly a good board state enough, and I just outright attacked him and destroyed him with one turn.
Yeah.
So he did have one trigger only once on me for like, what was it? Like 4 or
It was
5?
4
Yeah, it's still
permanents. Tried to hold off, but not quite there.
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Maybe I'll play Alapalani tonight.
You should.
It was fun.
You should.
You should.
It's been a
Absolutely.
minute. Oh yeah, I'll have a renaissance.
No,
She's
and
back.
Speaking of decks that people have, I do have a friend that has the Sky Noodle. What's his name?
Yorian.
Yorian?
Yorian.
I do have a friend who has, I believe, like 20 decks of Yorian.
That's weird.
And
my
there
God.
it is. It is the
See,
Sky
that
Noodle.
is
Slightly-
the
slightly
antithesis
All
different
of
to
them
my deck
are a
construction.
little different.
That is the antithesis to my deck construction. I am literally like, no, this must be the ultimate Orzhov creation, like Shatters.
I feel that, yeah.
Or like right now I'm working on Mardu, which is like the craziest thing I could do with Mardu has been Kaisar. Kaisar covers all the stops.
Yeah.
Again, it's card draw, it's punishment given like pain given the amount of token creatures I have, and then creating tokens. And no matter what, it just covers the stops of aristocratic base damage, and all I want to do is attack anyway. So it's kind of like notice me, almost literally my very much my Mad Max deck. And yeah, it's so fun to abuse. It does some spooky shit. As soon as Wound Reflection's out, it's like almost so strong. You know, you compound it with a Zulaport trigger with Garna of the Blood Flame of Keld or some shit,
Yeah.
and then Kaisar. That's it. That's almost one of my best game-winning circumstances. It does so much damage. Get Anointed Procession out, you know, quantify how much tokens are coming, and do like 20 damage total at turn. It's sexy. I'm getting hot talking about it.
That
I
was
mean,
really
if you just want to see the game previous with Cody here, he,
My
you
handsome
can see
boy.
how powerful that deck really is.
Yeah, my
Oh,
handsome
yeah.
boy with the shorts. Yeah, he's
Now, were you guys in that game? Were you guys doing the partner?
We were,
pairings?
yeah.
What was the partner pair?
That's a great question.
Hanem Pakal.
Anim Pakal. Anim Pakal? You fucking Satanist. And here I am wearing my bling dedicated to the Lord and Savior
Let's-
Lucifer Morningstar. And what? That's gross. I approve.
Let's
I
have a
approve.
conversation about morality here for a minute.
You're talking to Brady.
So
I'm talking as someone that built
morally
Rosella today.
gray, morally black.
Oh, as a partner commit. Yeah.
As someone
okay.
who built
Yeah.
Bruzella, 100%. Okay, take it away.
I mean, realistically, this is for Pride, right?
Yeah.
It's just they were like, hey, have this fun thing for a little bit. Technically, I think in stores it's happening the 28th to the 30th.
Yeah.
Is when it's actually going to be, you know, in.
They're doing an actual Pride Commander event
Yes.
kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to see what people come up with. Because for me, my whole thought process was I've never gotten to melt these 2 cards, and I want to be able to do it once.
And it worked. And it worked so
That's a
fucking
really
well.
clever way to
It
cheat
worked
that.
so well. And
Yeah.
then you were popping off by recurring angels with Bruna.
Yes.
Bruna was recurring angels, and I was like,
It's
oh
on
my
cast
god.
too, so even if it's countered, it doesn't matter.
It was so good. It was so good.
It's a great deck. It should have never existed. It should have never
It
been
was
brought
ruthless.
into the light.
On camera, we were like laughing about it for the first couple turns, and then it was like, no, this is actually proper hellscape.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rosella has a second ability, and it stops you from casting anything.
Yeah,
3
non-converted
seconds.
spells, and three players couldn't do anything for 4 turns until we just kept getting hit by angels in the air, and I was like, damn, this is something.
Ruthless.
You know that people are going to break other card pairings more. Like, they're going to have it so that, like, if I were to play against them, I would never be able to
You
cast
inspired me to
Rosella.
follow up with John and Blim.
I look forward to that.
Well, after this,
John Arenicus and Blim?
Yes.
Oh baby.
Oh no!
Yes. And I told him,
Hiding
I was
behind
like,
Go.
hey,
Give away now.
maybe wait. And then I brought something worse to the table, honestly. So I think that would be a
Dang.
good pairing.
That'd be hysterical.
That's actually a really gross pairing, John Arenicus and Blim.
Yeah, so no matter what, so Blim covers
You're
the,
giving stuff away no matter what, and
giving
then
it- yeah.
Blim is just gonna ping everybody for
So yeah, no,
everything.
Blim.
Holy crap!
Blim for out there for the audience is whenever he deals combat damage to an opponent, you give something away. So it also sees double strike, which the deck has, and he's not weak. He's like a 4/4 flyer. So you hit for 8 in the air. Hopefully, you give 2 things away, and then it checks for the amount of permanents that a player controls but doesn't own, and then they discard that many cards and then lose that much life additionally to the commander damage they just took. What the fuck is that? And it's amazing. Extra combats is the best way to make the deck actually really strong. With really crazy, horrible stacks cards that you don't care about, like Blood Sun. Just play it, draw a card, give it away. You know, things like that.
Ooh.
No, there's a lot of combos in it. And then John Arenicus,
Give away more.
my bae John Arenicus, who,
And then they can't be
art
sacked.
prompt here, looking like a dungeon daddy of my dreams. Literally, at the end step, you give away a creature, and it has, for the rest of the game, cannot be sacrificed and is goaded. Also comes into the opponent's battlefield with 2/2 or 2+1/+1 counters, and additionally, whenever an opponent attacks with a creature they control but don't own, I draw a card. So it's literally like the best of both worlds. Like,
Terrible.
I'm making people draw or discard, lose a lot of life, and everyone's going to be compounded by this mischief I'm giving away, like Phyrexian Obliterator. Yes. Something like, what's the Ebon God of Death from
A 7/7
Kaldheim?
obliterator.
From the Kaldheim set. So he comes out, he costs 3 mana, and he's a 6/6 that comes out as an 8/8 with Trample or Death
That's-
Touch, because he's an 8/8
Yeah.
Trample.
Death Touch.
Yeah,
I believe
an
it's Death
8/8,
Touch, yeah.
an 8/8 Death Toucher that on your upkeep exiles 2 things from your graveyard, and then when you can't do that, sacrifice and draw a card. So it kind of eventually turns into you just draw a card if you can't exile anything. But no matter what, he just constantly sees this can't be sacrificed clause because of John Arenicus' ability, or Plague Reaver, which again does something similar. You want to give it away, and at your end step, you would sacrifice all your creatures, but its other ability is discard 2 cards to sacrifice Plague Reaver, which you can't, and give it away.
Dumb.
Yeah, so in that case, yeah, you just give away Plague Reaver. Someone could discard all they want, but that's
But they
it.
can't give it away.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
Wait.
sure you've seen his John Arenicus deck. It's gross.
I love that deck. I love that
Taniwa-
deck. I was
It's
sad to
honestly-
that part.
I do
Taniwa-
have to agree. John Arenicus was probably like
one of my best bros.
your deck.
It was.
Your deck.
Don't worry, it's gonna come back. It was. I've never giggled and laughed so hard in my life. I only have
Every
still to
time.
this day 1 victory. It was against you using Reigns of Power.
Yeah.
Felt so good.
You
Going against
filthy
a token
bastard.
deck. Oh yeah, going against a token deck with John Arenicus. I was like, oh god, it was Fabine. I think I beat.
You were going against
Oh,
my Fabine
geez.
deck, yeah.
Yeah. It was like,
And that was at the time when she was like just recently like rebuilt, because I bought her as the precon where she's Kit Kanto faced, but I originally wanted to go with the parlay theme, so I got every parlay card in existence to go in this deck, and it was just pure jank. It was not working, but I kept the deck because I'm stubborn as hell and I love my cats. So I kept going and I kept upgrading, and I actually just recently put 3 new cards in that deck, and she is gross.
nice.
Like, she's pretty powerful at this point,
I
and I'm
love
super
that.
proud of her.
I
So
love that.
yeah.
There are certain decks that I build that I just like refuse to take apart even when they do suck.
Right?
Unfortunately, it's kind of the way that it is. Or
Your
even
pet
if I'm like,
decks.
yeah, exactly. There's decks where I'm like, oh, there's so many pieces in this that I'm like, I need them for other stuff. And I refuse to take it apart because I love the concept so much.
I'm very much an AFK player. I'm like, I want to just make sure that this deck or character, is as maxed out as it possibly can. Like I really do like finding like my Golgari deck right now is torn between, because I'm going back to the 32 challenge.
Yes.
But I really want them to be perfect, like singular, like what can this deck actually really, really represent? For like Falco, I think is honestly my Bont selection, because you can do so much with counters matter, and in Bont colors, there's so much cool counters you can abuse and top deck manipulation at a 4 cost. Oh god, it's so fun. So that one's 100% stapled, because before it used to be things like Amareth, but then I got really bored with Enchantresses, and then it's like, oh, you can do this. Amareth, which just became too anything, you know?
Yes.
So even with my Simic deck, I got really, I was like, okay, clones, cool. I kept changing. I originally built it for the tournament that you were part of. You were my teammate there for that. And I've been vibing with it for a while, but at the end of the day, it's just a Simic brew that wanted to do lands matter things. I was getting really bored until I discovered the Aftermath Jarell. Which is creating the XX elemental flying lands that and then seeing land combat damage. You know, you get card draw, and it's just, I was like, wait, there's my clone deck.
Yep.
Lands matter clones, and now I'm actually vibing. This is like literally one of my favorite decks I've ever played in my life.
Being able to evolve your decks is very important.
Yeah.
It'll get stagnant eventually.
Well, it evolves you as a player and a deck constructor or a builder, 100%.
Yeah. I used to play Emery, Lurker of the Loch, because it has my namesake. Yeah. And everyone was so shocked when I took her apart, and I was like, well,
she'll come back.
It's CEDH combo.
Yeah.
Fully CEDH combo. It's no longer like top tier or by any means, but
I think she's still in there on the list. So.
Yeah, she's tier 4.
That's respectful when you want to play tier 4 CDH.
Yeah, true. But if I were to actually go to like a CEDH night, there's no way that I'm
no, you
do
probably
it.
wouldn't bring Emery.
But I got so bored of doing the same things over and over and over, and it's like even when I brought it out to play, it's like, oh, I'm gonna do it again. Like there's a couple of times where like, yeah, turn 1 wins, turn 0 wins, it happens all the time. But then even if you're not doing that right away, you're still winning probably within turn 5 or 6. So I couldn't play it with other people unless they're playing CEDH specifically. Right. And even when I was doing it CEDH and I was like going full tilt, it was just boring. It's doing the same thing every single time.
Well,
so
that's the
variation.
That's the issue with
variety
one-trick
is the
ponies.
spice of
That's the
life.
issue with CDH is you have to really. I feel like people get really caught up in, because when you're in that kind of meta, it's exactly how to get there, and sure, it's linear, but there's so much extravagant ways in which you can still somehow get there, and I think that's what it is. It's the thrill seeker or gambling effect in full force mid game, which is why I think CDH draws so many players, because the power creep, I'm drunk on it. My win ratio is pretty good right now.
Brady's addicted.
And my deck construction is pretty fucking tasteful. You know, so I can't stop myself.
Yeah, like as you said with CDH, it's very meta, right? You want your tutors, you want your fast ramp or like mana rocks and stuff like that. Jordan is a huge combo player, as we all know.
Jordan.
Right? But
shout out to my boy!
Here's the kicker, though, is that he's smart when it comes down to his combo. So if he's building a CEDH deck where he wants to make sure he wins, he's going to build that combo in 20 different ways to ensure that he wins no matter what.
Well, I remember when he made my jaw drop with his Lucas Creation morph deck. I was like, the fuck is going on? He's like, well, yeah, you just got to morph a basic creature onto a legendary. It doesn't become this anymore, and then I'm going to clone it this many times with rite of replication. And I was like, that was like mind blown. Yeah. Even the callback, the first time I ever played against him, it was his 3 Wishes Joda deck.
Yep.
Joda? Joda.
No, Garth 3 Wishes.
Garth 1-eye 3 Wishes mechanic, because that was insane. Basically what we saw with the Eater of Days Kenrith deck from Dan. It was fantastic.
He does need a relatively decent board to go off, essentially, but the way that he plays the deck is he builds his board, he pops off, and he's like, okay, essentially I'm going infinite in here, but I'm gonna scoop and I'm just gonna sit back. Here's 3 coins. You guys can use these coins and make a wish on me, and I will grant it.
And he only does that if he gets there, though. And sometimes it's done fuck all. Sometimes it's done fuck all.
Sometimes it just never got there. But I've seen it go. I've seen it get there.
It does have a CDH backing to be omnipotent in that way. So it steps out, and then it gives you all the options of what Garth can do on average or something like that, and then everything else the deck in Wooburg can activate, kind of like like how Tivit you can play your deck, anything at all. You can basically like, oh, you don't want to take any damage, you're not taking any damage.
Yeah.
It
ramps, it protects,
Yeah.
it draws. It's actually really nutty because one of our friends, Pat, he got really out of the blocks with this deck because we were all playing and there was one point where it was like, okay, I'm going to cast a card that's going to win me the game. Like it was, I can't remember if it was you or somebody else.
No, I wasn't there. I've heard the story though. Yeah.
But yeah, so someone goes to cast a card to win the game and our buddy Pat turns around and goes, I make a wish. I'm gonna cast a card and then Jordan, I wish to go infinite somehow with this, or like because you can break me with this.
Yeah.
And Pat's like, take backsies counter. And it's like, oh, okay. I take backsies counter. And that was how it went.
Backseat counter?
Yeah.
Take backseat counters. So take backseat counters is basically you get 3 counters of it.
3 wishes.
Basically 3 wishes or 3 take backsies counters. Take backsies counters are essentially, I messed up and it's a little too late for me to take it back.
Go back, yeah.
Yeah, it's a go back, but it's a consequential go back. So you take a take backsies counter. If you get 3, you basically scoop lose. So if you have to do 3 take backsies, you lose and you're out.
That's an interesting way to do that.
Yeah, so Pat wished Jordan to take 3 take backsies counters to get out of the game, so we all had to finish the game ourselves.
Interesting way to do it.
It was so out of the box.
You just
and
broke
nutty.
my rules. I got to work on this one.
I think with one of my groups, Ty Spencer, a couple of those other guys, and I kind of adopted it into my other group as well. We called them Spider-Mans.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody gets one. You get one every game when you're going around. If you have something where like, oh, shoot, like I meant to tap this way, or I meant to cast this before this triggered, you get a Spider-Man once per turn.
So essentially a replay.
You have to make the little Spider-Man hand, or it doesn't count. And then you can take a little go back and do it, as long as everyone's okay with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's good to have that where you're not just doing like several where it's like, oh, I'm going to do this 3 different times, but just one where you're like, do I choose this as my Spider-Man per turn? Is this
how important
consequential?
is this?
Yeah,
exactly.
Is this that big enough for me to take that?
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's good, like you're not playing in a competitive setting when you're sitting down and playing with friends. So you don't really need to be that strict about it, but I also play with some people that are very powerful, and they've been playing for
He's not even
Power
afraid to
pose
admit
there,
it.
Brady.
I don't have that much finesse.
I like to get on them and be like, you've been playing for over 10 years. You gotta know that, once more information than you had going into doing that thing is like revealed to you, having to go back after that is kind of different.
Players who can comfortably play CDH don't deserve a lot of sympathy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I mean that. I respect going into it with rules zero, being like, hey, let's play casually, energetically. I don't like it when things are like suddenly, oh, now I'm upset about it, kind of where it flip-flops on that way. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I like to really go into a game where sometimes it's, okay, a card played is a card played. CDH mentality now, like a lot less politics at least, like 9 out of 10 times less politics.
Yes.
On average.
Quicker games, too.
Quicker
Very.
games as well. But you can still achieve that kind of mindset, or use that mindset in casual playing, and still just play effectively and smart, and still not have to worry about people's feelings too much when they're just respecting that you're playing smart.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me. I think that comes with experience. A lot of that comes with experience, in the game specifically, and even just like self-awareness as well. That's always a big thing that people struggle with when they come to like the issues of house rulings. Because not to get to the, I wanted to start talking about this because we keep talking about house rules, basically. But yeah, honestly, like there's a lot of that comes down to, I think, just the amount of experience that goes into it. Because any proper pilot should always, on average, know what they're doing.
Yep.
Like tonight, I made a bunch of misplays, but I've been smoking weed, so I forgive myself.
That's exactly when we're sitting down. There's alcohol, there's weed involved, there's just
Misplays are gonna happen.
Yeah.
just general stupidity.
General.
So if I end up doing something wrong and I'm playing with like a higher caliber table, I typically will be like, no, that didn't happen. I'm not going to take a go back because I deserve to learn from this. And I do that a lot. Probably more than I should. Where I'm like, no, I forgot that. This is how I'm going to remember. I'm going to make myself feel bad.
But another nitpick that I specifically have for a lot of competitive players, not even just like CDH, but just competitive players in general, and I've seen this working in an LGS. If you are going to be a competitive style player, make sure you understand the rules, and if you don't, listen to your damn judge. Don't argue with them, please. I've seen it way too many times, and it's so frustrating.
No.
However, I have also seen level 1 judges where they come through and they say something where it's like
Completely stupid.
and you have to bring another judge in. So
That's understandable.
You know, 'cause
Judges are not infallible.
there's too many rules.
They are
Even,
human.
Like,
They're
Tier 1
human.
judges, you know, they might not have a full grasp on everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can always challenge it, and it's, you know, sometimes good to challenge it, but the way in which you challenge it and bring it up is...
They
Yeah.
absolutely
If
deserve
you're just
respect.
being like, you're wrong, and you ask,
Yeah, like if
"Can
you're
I
going to
get,
turn around
like,
and
a
call
level
them
2 judge?"
stupid about it, that's the wrong play to go. And I've seen that way too many times.
I've only ever seen them though with very specific things. When it's actually so hard and unfeasibly, like as an example,
Convoluted stuff. Oh,
like
man.
John Arenica is giving away Taniwa, which has phasing, but it also has on it your lands phase. Your lands also have phasing. So when I had to ask, how the hell does this card work? So I'm like, well, it phases out first, goes away, comes back in still with counters, and it still is goaded and must attack. But then on the second time it's out, your lands then phase away, and you can't do anything. But it took a while to understand how that interaction worked with what lands you control have phasing and it having phasing. What phased first? Did they all phase? Like, why would I give this away with Taniwa or with John? But
Cards that literally break the rules of the game.
Yeah,
you
no, it
actually
happens.
have to look up I've even done
Like that
that where
stupid
it's like
spell
I've broken certain things where it's like I had to look up this rule and this rule and this rule, and then we all had to come to a consensus. Okay, how does it work with all 3 of these rules? Oh, okay, let's figure that out. Right? Like there are things that do that.
yeah.
And that's also kind of the part of the CDH thing is like breaking rules. Or like even Unfinity.
Cutting
Unfinity
all the corners to
obviously
get
breaks
to the
rules.
destination as fast as possible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I got to experience a turn to abusing twice Jessica's will with a Underworld Breach. It was a bit maybe early to do that, but I saw no other possible way to do that on any other turn in mono red. I felt great doing that, but even after 2 wheels, I didn't get to my win condition. So, and which is multiple occurrences of actual, because it's combat storm. So I want to storm into something that is guaranteedly extra combats in the deck, and I have everything now in that in mono red for extra combats is in that brew. That works for the curve anyways. But after 2 goddamn wheels, I got nowhere, and I was very heartbroken.
That
I
is
was like,
sad.
Yeah.
so I was just dead in the water. Even on one of my recent episodes where I was recording with Brando, I had a great turn. It was great. Turn 2 again. It's like, grr, grr. I had this a whole bunch of spells. It must have been like 4. Yeah, like it's the number. Yeah, we'll work that more in post. But I had a big turn 2. Got into a wheel. Was able to play a mana or Grim Monolith. Got to really cool. Popped off with a Charming Scoundrel. Used all this kind of mana floating, got a Ruby Medallion out, and then with a mana reduction of 1 and 1 floating and a treasure, I used Vandal Blast. Or no, with 2 red, a treasure, and with the Ruby Medallion, I was able to target Tanner's Mana Crypt, his, I think his Grim Monolith, and then something else that was insane.
That's not very nice.
Mana Vault.
Yep.
Yeah, and you were there for that. And
Yep, I
he
was.
literally was like, he looked at me like, deflecting swat? And I looked at my hand being like, I wish I had mine, bro. I was just like, oh, just dead. But I also didn't even have my commander. He has commander rouse out. So
Popped up, and then everything that you
Same
had
thing.
just got destroyed.
but same, just like our practice match where the other day I did all that crazy shit with Jessica's will twice on turn 2, which is so cool. I was dead in the water for the next 3 or 4 turns, and that on camera I'm gonna have to learn how to deal with, because it's hard. You're sitting there, especially in mono red, being like, I'm just gonna slowly let my flame burn out. That's all you can do.
The wind is gone out of your sails.
it
Just
sucks.
The light
So-
from your eyes is gone.
But it's from rogues to riches. It's literally in the name.
the
I'm not
letter.
sure necessarily if that episode will be usable for us. We definitely have a CDH game guaranteed though with Steven, which is exciting.
Love you,
We have a
Steven.
CDH game. Yeah.
Can't wait to see your terrible awful deck.
Yeah.
powerhouse, honestly. No, and no, it is definitely a learning curve, and I'm aware that I'm gonna get just eaten alive on the reason why I kept my opening hands, because Just don't judge me too harshly. I'm still learning.
Hey, you're always your worst critic, though.
Yep. I'm my own worst critic. That's right. Don't be too mean.
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. When I watch back, though, I'll judge you then.
It's well worth judging
Favorite
it.
expression. My heart does not judge, but these eyes, they do.
Yeah.
I didn't say it, but I sure was thinking it loudly.
Indeed. I was thinking it loud enough you could hear it.
No, it's super fun. And what else do we have going on for the Rogue's Passage?
Honestly, we've covered most of it. I'm almost wondering if we should wrap up and get into some commander
Let's get into
Yeah,
some games.
we're
I think it's
planning
about
on
time.
getting into games.
We also
We've
just got some food. We got some food waiting. I'm getting
Indeed.
some hangles.
We're gonna have some have
Punch a
some
child here
snacking
soon.
and foods.
Give me my fries.
We have a Pauper game planned coming up pretty quick here after the break, and
Yep.
then we're gonna get back into some more Commander shenanigans.
Yep,
So should be fun.
Come back and see us soon for the bloodshed, folks. It'll be good. We get some grub in my bellies, and
You get to watch me and Emery punch each other in the face.
Are we doing Pauper or PDH?
sock and popper.
Proper.
We're
popper.
doing proper Pauper. Yeah.
Pauper.
Sock and popper.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for hanging out with the
Yeah.
podcast, guys. Thanks for chilling.
Blah, blah, blah. Stay fabulous and shit. It's pride. Yes.
Me, ow.
All right.